Hello to everybody. My name is E.Gryzun, and I represent here Kharkiv National University of Economics Information System Department. The topic of my presentation is Features of Design of Digital Aids for Training Students with Autistic Disorders. Here there is the outline of my presentation. During the last decades, digital transformation has referred all aspects of education, including inclusive learning. Various surveys testify that one of the global problems of contemporary education in its digital age becomes finding the ways to facilitate the learning process for students with special needs based on technology support. Special focus of experts, however, has been obtained recently by the students with autistic spectrum disorders, ASD students, as the number of the cases and the variety of the disorders modifications has been growing for last few years. Thus, we deal with the global problem, and it is clear that software and learning aids market tries to respond to the set challenges of ASD students' social adaptation and academic training at different levels. In particular, there are a number of special centers all over the world which offer educational programs that focus on educating peer groups of ASD students and at the same time teaching pro-social communication strategies to enhance social inclusion and to reduce the students' isolation and bullying. However, it is pointed out that the developed software is mostly of general educational purpose and do not cover specific cognitive needs of ASD students, one of which is poor speech and communication skills, what complicates the students' social adaptation. Thus, it is important and necessary to develop approaches to special digital aids design based on psychological peculiarities of these students' training. One more problem in this aspect is connected directly with Ukrainian localization of such digital aids and their development due to the exact needs of a national situation in the lines of provision as the students' education and social adaptation. Coming from the said evidence, the purpose of the work is to cover core features of the design of digital aids for ASD students and demonstrate them on the example of the development of an e-simulator for the students' speech encouragement. Theoretical background of the work is made by the analysis of the challenges of ASD students' educational practices and learning of potential benefits which might be given by the digital support for the training process of these students. Analysis of psychological and pedagogical sources allowed us to identify a number of major learning difficulties that are inherent in students with autistic disorders. According to studies, the learning difficulties are caused by students' problems in three core spheres: social interaction, communication, and imagination. The most essential of them include generalized insufficient ability to learn, poor concentration, unawareness of dangerous situations, insufficient or excessive reactivity, and others. In addition, experts highlight the special disorders of autistic students in the formation and development of their reading and speaking skills in both native and foreign languages. In particular, the students face the problems of insufficient vocabulary and its using, misunderstanding of the general sense of the read content, fragmentary perception of oral speech, lack of motivation to communicate with others, and etc. On the other hand, the psychologists emphasize that speaking habits make the most essential basis for the student's socialization. Hence, these habits development has to be in focus of all kinds of educational practices for ASD students for all ages. It is also important to point out some ASD students' strengths which might be helpful in their teaching. They are very well developed visual memory, considerable attention to details, a large amount of mechanical memory, and others. In this regard, experts recommend involving in the learning process of such students visual aids and visualization tools, but it is emphasized also the need for maximum organization and concentration of the students' visual field. In this context, the special attention must be paid to the digital support of ASD students' education. Researchers claim the advantages of technology-supported learning for students. The result of several studies suggests that autistic students learn faster with the help of a computer than with the help of verbal instructions. Researchers consider the reason of this is not only in the fact that digital devices are able to hold students' attention longer, but also in the fact that it uses the principle of content visualization and encourages students to focus on specific areas of the screen. Computers provide students also with multimedia content that enables to combine audio and graphical images to enrich and facilitate in such a way students' perception of text information, developing their reading and speech habits. In such research papers, it is pointed out that digital aid support is very promising for these students because they have significant kinship toward technology and interaction with e-devices, digital means, etc. In fact, technology in such a case functions as an interface between you as the person and other people, providing necessary social and emotional distancing that helps decreasing their anxiety. Another educational technology's benefit is its facility to provide tailored and individually driven digital support for ASD students, who usually have their own preferences for sensory outputs produced by software, as well as for the way of learning due to their individual peculiarities and to the peculiarities of their disorder. As a result, due to the technology's advantages, the students obtain personalized, friendly, and one-to-one digital aid to master both social and academic skills. Thus, the set benefits of digital aids of ASD students and their social and learning difficulties determine a variety of aids and the core features of their design. As we said above, speaking habits, vocabulary boosting, and speech simulation must be in focus of ASD students' learning on all of the levels. In this connection, it is relevant to concentrate on the advantages of e-simulators as a specific type of digital support in general and look precisely at the potential of e-simulators focused exactly on ASD students' speech and language boosting. In particular, e-simulators provide a trainee with a step-by-step work out of learning content and allow them to obtain sustainable skills of proper actions along with the parallel detection of the trainees' errors. For ASD students speech boosting, it is important that e-simulators take into account the individual pace of students' work and enable his own managing and controlling the learning process. They also reduce the time of developing necessary skills and do this process more efficient due to the great number and variety of training tasks, which raises the motivation of individual activity. Based on the analyzed needs of speech development of students with autism and general requirements for e-simulators, it is possible to formulate specific requirements for e-simulators for language boosting, which can be used as a basis for their design. On the one hand, The software for ASD students must be helpful for them in terms of their common and individual learning challenges, has to decrease the level of students' difficulties, and hence to make smoother the process of their learning and social adaptation. On the other hand, any kind of digital aids for the students, including the said in simulators for speech encouragement, must be cooperative in terms of the students' strong points, their well-developed visual memory, attention to details, and so on, which are considered by psychologists to be helpful in their teaching. Uh, Thus, in the process of development of an e-simulator for language boosting or for ASD students, the set of requirements have to be taken into consideration. Firstly, it must have a concise, intuitively clear interface that must be the same for work in all modes of the simulator. It is recommended to use the same template to support unique basic design of the application. Secondly, the set e-simulator has to provide visual reinforcement of verbal content as the students have well-developed visual memory, which might compensate their verbal difficulties. In addition, it is essential to provide opportunities for multiple repetition of the proper exercises, which must be generated by the simulator due to the didactic purposes. At the same time, the application must have facilities for gradual complication of the tasks and a moderate variety of exercises that would provide not only the vocabulary boosting but also speech simulation. Finally, the e-simulator should guarantee high level of interaction with the friendly feedback in learning situations of success and failure to increase motivation for speech encouragement. Besides, the software should provide significant level of adaptivity due to the student's needs. So the students could progress in his own pace according to his individual preferences and was able to handle the process of learning. The formulated specific recommendations for the said e-simulators might be considered as features which are necessary to be regarded in the process of the simulator's elaboration and determine their functionality in terms of the ASD students' didactic needs. We'd like to cover them in details on the example of the design of an e-simulator for young students, speech boosting in Ukrainian and in English. Coming from formulated recommendation, the main phases of the application design were outlined, which can be characterized in brief as follows. At the first stage, the didactic function specification due to the recommendations and determination of the models of the e-simulator work were undertaken. Um, On the next stage, it was determined the use cases diagram was created. Yeah, it was determined that the user is expected to initiate the set of cases, such as to run the application, to get familiar with the e-simulator, introducing himself, to choose the language, Ukrainian or English, to be trained, to choose the mode of training, boosting vocabulary, building phrases, work upon social stories, and so on. At the next stage, the conceptual model of the subject area, as the student's language encouragement with the help of e-simulator, was created. And on the stage of object-oriented design, the obtained conceptual model was used to determine application cases, objects, and so on. Next phase was devoted to the application interface design coming from the requirements to this e-simulator, the use case diagram, and obtained conceptual model. And then the program realization of e-simulator was undertaken in Java language within NetBeans environment. Necessary didactic contact for all modes of the e-simulator was created in collaboration with psychologists, ASD experts, and primary school teachers. In particular, the variety of word sets with visual support was picked up for their mastering in accordance with the Ukrainian English language curriculum. Phrases builder of the e-simulator was filled in with proper context. Social stories for work with digital narratives were composed. As a result, all the proper components of application were filled in with the elaborated learning content. At the final stage of the application, it was tested, yeah, and the application then was introduced into the practice of ASD students' classroom and independent learning activities. Below, we are covering the functionality of the developed simulator, highlighting the features of their implementation. As a result of development, speech e-simulator Speak Up, or Razmavlayka in Ukrainian, for young students with autism spectrum disorders has a concise but intuitively clear interface that enables both educators and students to interact with it efficiently from the very beginning. In addition, the interface of the e-simulator offers to get familiar with a user, as the student, introducing his name, which immediately makes training personalized and intuitively driven. After getting familiar and choosing the language of training by the user, the application encourages trainee to work in three main modes, which determine basic didactic functions of the application. The first core mode focuses the trainee on boosting his vocabulary while learning new words of native or foreign language, along with their meanings. There are two main activities provided by the simulator. First, the student is enabled to look through the vocabulary of the lesson, along with words meaning and proper associative images. The activity encourages the student to learn the sets of words with visual support in his own pace, returning to the same sets of words as many times as the trainee needs. The other activity in the vocabulary mode is devoted to the word simulation with estimating of the students' attempts. In particular, in this mode, the simulator encourages students to recollect the learned vocabulary with immediate feedback and with friendly processing of the situation of success and failure. Thus, the realized mode of e-simulator helps as the students to get used to the situation of training with estimation, allows to decrease the anxiety, which is essential for the students, and motivate them for vocabulary boosting. An important function realized in the simulator is the opportunity for the trainee, with the help of his tutor, definitely, to edit existing vocabularies, to fill them with their own sets of words, and save their own vocabulary in files along with proper images with the simulator within the simulator to use them for outwork later. This ensures the adaptability of the simulator to the needs of a trainee because he can work out the words which seems exactly for him to be useful and important. And it's possible to predict the growth of students' motivation to remember and use them. In this way, the student can make their learning the most comfortable and individual, and also avoid the fear to testing their knowledge. The situation of learning and training and control becomes familiar for a child and safe and psychologically comfortable for him. Next mode, which is realized in the simulator, is aimed to progressing the ASD student skills of composing sentences of various types. On this purpose, the simulator implements a phrase builder, which offers the student two main types of speech learning activities. The first type encourages the student to build sentences according to the scheme and compare their own sentence with the sample. The second type offers to choose from the suggested members of the sentence correct ones, as well to build as well as to build their own phrases and check their correctness. In the fourth mode of training, maybe it's the most interesting mode of work of the simulator. It is provided an opportunity for students to work upon so-called social stories that have social and educative content and contribute to the effective adaptation of ASD students to society. The student is offered two main stages of processing the stories: reading the story followed by its analysis while answering suggested questions, and reading the same text with pictures instead of some words that the student must recollect and input or choose them from the suggested one. It's important to emphasize that all of the simulators modes, it is realized the facility of monitoring the correct answers with immediate feedback in the form of scored points displaying the results of training. The aid also efficiently handles situations of success and failure, which provides a favorable emotional background, creates a friendly atmosphere of training, and helps to increase motivation to practice language and speech skills. Thus, the depicted above functionality of the developed digital simulator for ASD students' language encouragement meets the core features of such aids design, which were grounded and formulated above. In accordance with the aims of the paper, it is covered essential peculiarities of the design of digital aids for ASD students. They are distinguished coming from the analysis of common learning and social difficulties inherent to trainees with autistic disorders needs for their speaking habits development and, and the advantages of special digital support in the terms of facilitating ASD students training. The distinguished features essential in the process of the digital aids design are demonstrated on the example of the development of an e-simulator for young ASD student speech encouragement. The main stages of its design and functionality are characterized. We also would like to emphasize that the development of digital simulator due to the functionality helps to overcome a number of problems faced by young ASD students. In particular, the simulator promotes concentration on the attention and relies on increased visual memory of such students, allows to boost significantly the vocabulary of both native and foreign uh, exactly English language, while multiple repetition and involvement of both verbal and non-verbal learning provides opportunities for gradual complication of tasks and moderate variety of exercises, which allows not only to expand vocabulary by memorizing words, but also the speech simulation by constructing their own sentences, processing social stories with visual support, etc. In addition, the realized option to repeat different but similar learning situations, studying at their own comfortable pace, help to reduce the students' anxiety, simplify their adaptation to unfamiliar tasks and situations, which is really essential for autistic students due to their psychological peculiarities. Finally, the function of editing by the student offered vocabularies ensures the adaptability of the simulator to the needs and requests of the trainee and enables the student to handle his own process of training. In fact, this function represents the developed e-simulator as a computer shell for design of individual simulators for ASD students' speech training. Thank you for your attention. I'm ready to answer your questions.